Equity securities. Let's talk a little bit more about this. Well, equity securities represent ownership interests, right? Like we talked about. So you want to own part of the company. And you can do that through common stock. Generally not preferred stock. Preferred stock, if you've heard me talk about it before, it's more like debt, but you can have voting preferred stock and you can have, technically ownership through that sometimes, other capital stock. Equity securities include rights to buy and sell ownership interest. It's like if you just went online right now and Googled, what's the price of Microsoft stock? You're technically buying a part of Microsoft when you're buying some of that stock. Convertible debt and redeemable preferred stock are not equity securities for this purpose. The percentage of overall ownership of the company through common stock determines the accounting treatment for equity. So this is the 0 to 20, 20 to 50, 50 to 100. In this section at fair value and amortized cost, we are at 0 to 20. And you don't have any significant influence on company. Significant influence will be important when we get to the equity method. Well, kind of just mentioned that there. Significant influence. It's really wild. It's almost as if I know what's coming up on these slides. All right. So yeah, like we said, this is you, this is us, this is me, this is the normal people, right? I mean, or it could be a company just buying 5%. So there's little or no control. Significant influence. This is, well, if you're, owning like over 50%, you have significant influence. 100% gives you full control. Just kind of a general diagram of the level of influence in which method we'll use, right? Make sure you're familiar with that before we get into each section. All right, example, absence of significant influence by investor. So cases which significant influence may not exist. All right, there'll be questions on, is there significant influence in this situation? You got to answer that. So the investee opposes investor's acquisition of stock. So if the subsidiary, the company you're investing in, can push you away and say, no, you're not buying our stock, well, there's no significant influence there, in which case we would not go to the equity method. If the investor surrenders significant shareholder rights, so if we buy into the stock and we surrender everything except for maybe the ability to profit and lose from the situation, then yeah, there's not significant influence. If we, when we're buying into the company, are unable to obtain needed financial information from the investee, well, again, if we can't even get basic financial information, that shows a lack of significant influence. Lastly, if we, when we're buying into a company, we're unable to obtain representation on the board of directors, that is, again, a lack of significant influence. This is a big one because if you're buying into a quarter of the company, you should be able to put at least one person on that board of directors, which is the overall guiding body of that company and where they see their future. Okay, we saw this here. Just a recap, I like to bring slides back to just reiterate what you should see, right? What you should definitely be familiar with, memorize, just checking in. Just checking in with you. How are you doing today? Well, if you could check in with me, I'm sure you'd ask me the same. I'm doing well. Thank you for asking. Let's move on. Available for sale equity securities. So just a recap also, what we saw so far was more important. It was the debt securities, all that. That's the more important, but obviously we're covering even more. Securities, when acquired, are recorded at cost. Subsequent to acquisition, investments are valued and reported at fair value. Nothing different here from normal investing. Cash dividends are reported as income. This is for fair value method. We will see a different treatment in the equity method. Unrealized holding gains and losses are reported as a part of comprehensive income and a component of stockholders' equity. This is to bring light that if it's available for sale equity, it's normal, right? It's normal. It's going to be just normal. But if it's debt security, if this said debt, then that would be an OCI. Trading equity securities, so you're just buying some stock to trade among, make some money in the short term. The accounting guidelines are the same as the available for sale securities with one exception. The only difference here, unrealized holding gain and losses are reported net income. If you've been, if you've had your eyes and ears open for the past couple of minutes in this section, you probably knew that already. All right, same as debt there, reported in net income. Everything else is the same. All these are the same.